Welcome to the online Seedstars World Competition 2020-21, the regional finals of Africa. I'm Raisa Yao, Community and Event Manager at Seedstars in Africa. We're about to discover the best startup in Africa. Stay with us to listen to the top startup pitching, learn more about women empowerment and gender equality topic in Africa from our amazing speakers at the panel discussion, and find out who will represent the Africa at the global stage and compete for $500,000.
Ladda is a one-stop investment platform. It has things like mutual funds, savings.
So actually, it's really a shame that we still talk about the challenge of getting enough food.
Where we propose a solution by providing a quality home-based healthcare service for chronically ill and elderly people.
We have focused a lot in agriculture, and we got funding for it.
In a country like Zambia, can receive payments even from Kenya, from a mobile money account in Kenya. That's something that doesn't exist.
This final wouldn't be possible without the support of our great partners, International Finance Corporation, VOD, and Presence Switzerland.
Broad support for entrepreneurship is critical to Africa's development, and even more critical is support for female entrepreneurs on the continent, given gaps in access to finance. IFC's research shows that female entrepreneurs receive only 7% of venture capital and private equity funding. And against this backdrop, it is important for all ecosystem players to proactively work in closing these gender gaps. IFC, in collaboration with the Women's Entrepreneurs Finance Initiative, WeFi, is embracing this call to action. And partnering with Seedstars is aligned to our focus in supporting female entrepreneurs on the continent at the very early stages of their entrepreneurial journey.
Innovation takes time.
It's challenging.
Frustrating. But often a thing of beauty. Innovation. We understand it takes ideas, dedication, vision.
Above all, it takes people, entrepreneurs who love to innovate.
Startups that love to make change. And companies who are not scared of taking risks or wonder what could be. Fostering innovation requires the right environment to flourish.
VA is one of Europe's leading innovation hubs with a vast number of growing industries. It's where Swiss quality of life, stability, diversity of skilled labor, talent, and academic research are all linked together to grow ideas
and innovate. Our ecosystem is rich with diversity, setting up endless possibilities between many different sectors. Health tech and life sciences,
food tech and nutrition, digital trust and cybersecurity,
aerospace and precision engineering,
AI and machine learning,
sport tech,
drones and robotics,
energy and environment technology, all converging to harness each other's high-tech strengths.
We act as a bridge between startups, corporates, investors, and entrepreneurs. We understand innovation takes connections, support, and financial incentives.
That it takes collaboration, talent, and the most advanced technologies to push ideas forward and bring them to market. That's why we promote, invest, connect, and grow innovation. VO.
Now I want to welcome to the stage Claudia, the regional manager from Africa, to share with you some insight about the region and Seedstars World Competition in 2020-21.
Hi everyone, it's Claudia Macadristo here, and I am happy to share with you the ecosystem insights that we got after the Seedstars World Africa Competition 2020/2021. So Africa has obviously definitely been impacted by COVID, but the good thing is we are still active. And with an online format of the competition this year, we were actually able to, in many ways, come back stronger than ever. To give you a couple of examples. Firstly, we were able to source startups virtually. So entrepreneurs from all over the country could actually apply to the competition without the need to fly into a specific place. So as an example, where we would usually go to Mozambique and we would remain in Maputo, now also entrepreneurs from other parts of this country could actually apply and participate. Secondly, we were able to give more or access to more inclusive training opportunities. And the way we did this was by establishing the Seedstars Online Academy and the Investment Readiness Program that was actually given to local winners. And lastly, what we were able to do is to provide better matchmaking opportunities between mentors and investors because, hey, there was no need to fly anyone in physically. Now in Africa, we are working with startups from over 26 ecosystems. And in the region, we actually received over 2,000 applications. Now, what about the entrepreneurs? COVID provided opportunities for actually more than 20% of the entrepreneurs that applied to the competition this year. And especially in certain sectors that had to, in a way, adapt to the pandemic. COVID had an impact in, many sectors. As some of those managed to benefit, such as health and education, as those are the ones which are actually in need of, innovations, especially during these times. And entrepreneurs are really seizing these opportunities. So looking into Seedstars World applications in 2020, 2021 for Africa, we actually see that most of the trending industries are education, health, agriculture, and retail. At the same time, entrepreneurs are tackling critical SDGs. And the top 5 goals for 2020 among our pipeline are actually decent work and economic growth, no poverty, good health and well-being, partnerships to achieve the goals, as well as quality education. Now, we also noticed that lower risk business model actually remained the most popular. So that being B2B and B2B2C models. And these models actually accounted for about 60% of the models, which is in a way what we would expect as they are slightly lower risk business models, right? Mostly because they are less trend-based. Businesses tend to be a bit more rational when it comes to decision making than consumers, as an example. And the recurring revenues are really a clear priority for most of the entrepreneurs this year. So recurring revenue models really take the lead on the revenue model side, accounting for almost 40%, right? In terms of subscriptions, as a combination of subscription as well as product plus subscription. Now, freemium, licensing, advertising, and on-demand models on the other side don't have such a strong following, but it is also, I think, in many ways unsurprising given the importance to monetize immediately in emerging markets. Now, that being said, we want to share with you some of the key startup challenges that we saw this year. So about 25% of the startups in the batch actually did not reach product market fit, or in a way did not really know how to confirm it. Now, about 80% of the startups, we noticed that either they did not really know their unit economics, or on the other side, they were perhaps not able to calculate them in the right ways. Now, what we did here based on that is we actually took a lead on filling the gap with online content, right? So 707 startups from Africa got access to the online Seedstars Academy, where they actually learned more about customers, product and competitors, market pricing, unit economics, as well as fundraising. Now, at the regional stage, we actually enrolled the local winner to the investment readiness program that included live sessions of webinars, office hours, and domain group sessions as well. And what we were addressing in these sessions were actually challenges that the startups told us that they wanted to focus on in their applications, right? Such as unit economics, or for example, North Star metric and KPIs, or growth and skill. And of course, we facilitated the mentor meetings, as I actually have mentioned before. So 156 meetings were organized for entrepreneurs from Africa. And the top category of the requests was actually to receive mentorship on strategy, followed by growth and finance. Now, the average rating of these meetings between mentors and entrepreneurs was about 4.7 out of 5. And that is obviously a number that we are very satisfied with. Now, thanks to the online format, we were actually able to leverage our global pool of mentors and give entrepreneurs access to 1,000 experts or over 1,000 experts worldwide. Now, all of this was actually really done with the hope to enable startups to go on and raise more investments. Now, it's a bit early right now to talk about the fundraising results, as capital raised from the batch will only be measured in about 6 months from now. Because of course it takes time to close a fundraising round. But we already made more than 300 reach outs in a mission to connect entrepreneurs with an international network of investors. Thank you so much for your attention. And now time to go back to the finals.
Thanks for such a great overview, Claudia. Now it's time to move to the main part of today's event, regional finals of Seedstars World Competition in Africa. Please welcome our dear jury members, Rebecca Enachong, founder and CEO of Apstec, Papa Amadou Sarr, General Delegate for Youth and Women Entrepreneurship in the Office of the President of the Republic of Senegal, Tommy Davis, Chief Investment Officer at Greentech Capital Partners and Collaborator-in-Chief at Technovision, and finally Claudia Macadristo, Regional Manager for Africa at Seedstars. Thank you very much for your support.
So at Flamingoo Foods, we want to make sure that every home in Africa has access to food. So actually, it's really a shame that we still talk about the challenge of getting enough food. And when you look at the left side, we see still 1 in 3 children suffering from malnutrition and hunger. And just imagine being in front of a classroom with 30 students and 10 students suffer from that problem. So we asked ourselves, what is this caused by? So we find in the middle the high price volatility, prices going up 3 times of former years, which of course means people can consume less only. And climate change will make this even to become worse. At the same time, when we talk about rice and corn market, it's a $7 billion market in East and Southern Africa. So there's a great opportunity, as well as just imagine until 2030, the immense and huge rice deficit in Kenya of 650,000 tons will even increase to 1.3 million tons. And we believe hunger can be solved or at least significantly reduced. We use a tool of seasonal weather forecasts, satellite observations, and our own developed price forecast with the application of artificial intelligence to then map the surplus and deficit areas in East and Southern Africa. And this helps us then to have the right decisions about when and where to store food and when and where to distribute food. How does this look like in particular? Up to a year in advance, we can use sea surface temperature to already get significant forecast probabilities where there's going to be a drought. It can look like on the left side, when we saw like Southern Africa was very dry in 2019 and East Africa rather wet. And when we narrow down to the time, we have real-time observations to confirm our forecasts. Our traction is that we already handle about 1,000 tons of food. We have expanded to DRC and Zambia, as well as achieved a revenue of $500,000, which can now be 10x for the incoming orders from Kenyan customers. We got GBS license, which allows us to export food East Africa-wide. Very few companies are allowed to do that. In our team, we have a diverse background and expertise. Leonard is responsible for the operations. I'm responsible for finances and sales. And Andreas, he's the bright guy behind all the tech and climate developments. We want to ask you to join us to fight hunger. We want to scale our business, increase our capacity, and further improve our tech development to have more precise crop forecasts. We will have a significant impact on the farmers, generating revenue of up to $10 million for them. Our business is not about making somebody's lives better, it's about rescuing lives. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Rebecca.
Hey.
How are you? I have a question for you. In your pitch, you sounded more like a charity organization than a for-profit business. Tell us more about how your business model and your economics on this.
Yeah, sure. So we make money by being a reliable supplier to wholesale customers in the deficit areas. So we really also buy food where there is too much food actually, and bring it to those places where there's too little food. And we do this by having all this information. So we call ourselves to be the best informed food trader. So we are a food trader, that's our business model, but we are the best informed player in the region.
Very, very quickly, you talked about your traction. Can you share, something like about 1,200, 1,300 1,000 metric tons of transport, 900 of milled rice. Could you give us a feel when you say total sales $500,000, over what period is that?
That's the yearly revenue. So currently, when we have about 1,000 tons that we sell, and a ton is about $500 sales price, a bit depending on the quality and broken rice that's involved. We get about $500,000 USD revenue that we make per year. And actually, we now got an order for 5,000 tons rice order from Kenya. They had problems to get enough rice because nobody really knows where they can find the rice that is sufficient to go on that big orders. Actually, we have 2 customers there. That means that we expect this year or next year, the revenue will grow to $3 to $5 million USD.
Okay, so the 25.3 is year-on-year growth.
Yes, right.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in with a quick question here. So when you started off, as part of your problem statement, you were actually kind of like addressing, right, that there's still people suffering from, or children, for example, suffering from hunger. I think in this whole topic, another big element is not so much the quantity of food, but also the nutritious value of the food that actually gets to them. So I'm just wondering how that plays out in your story.
Yeah, like our scope is first, like really to get the quantities to the people. Like if you also talk about beans later, that's really important also, not only for rice and maize, of course, but we really see, like, just to make an example, last year when Zambia got the really bad harvest, they completely closed the borders. So they put an export ban, and DRC, the neighboring country, imports like 75% of food. So they're completely depending on Zambia. And that was possible already to forecast that Zambia will not have enough food for DRC. So Tanzania's role was to actually supply enough maize mainly to the DRC, and that's something that you can forecast, but now there's no one who does this on a large scope. So people were really hungry, prices were going 3 times, 4 times. It was a real government issue in DRC. How can we get maize into our country now? So that's the main challenge that we focus on, and nutritious food would be something that we should also focus on, but maybe as a second step.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oluwatosin Olasende. I'm the co-founder of Ladda, and today I'll be speaking to you about Ladda and what we've done so far. So prior to building Ladda, we built Money Africa, that is one of the largest financial literacy platforms in Nigeria, with over 200,000 people on it, teaching and educating them about their money. Now, this gave birth to Ladda. So after educating and teaching, they wanted a platform that they'll be able to then carry on to invest in. So what is Ladda? Ladda is a one-stop investment platform that has things like mutual funds, savings, equities, and even insurance all in one space. Now, what we've noticed is this: there is no social protection. About 98.3% of Nigerians do not have insurance, and 7% of working population do only have a pension plan. So we knew that there's a need for this product, right? And now those that actually have savings, that have access to the formal channels, they usually do not have high yielding investment opportunities. And when they can get it, the access is usually high. And that's what gave birth to Ladda, being able to offer them a product that actually has a different feature. So now Ladda has a superior advantage over traditional finance institutions because things like the interest rate on savings is high yielding, is closer to inflation rate. We also have other opportunities like global and local equities and access to insurance all on one platform. Another beautiful thing about Ladda is that with as little as $1, you can actually get started. The power of the low entry and the convenience, leveraging on technology. Now, talking about the potential market size, we're looking at a market size of about 26.2 million users and a market value of 20.6 billion, with a huge chunk of it sitting down right there in savings deposits. So what is the competition space looking like? We're actually in a nascent industry, right? Knowing that the fintech is actually very young. They're less than 5 years old. The key players, they're talking about active users. They have less than 1 million active users. So no one has covered 10% of the potential market. So there's actually traction and there's actually room for growth. So what has Ladda done up to date? We launched an MVP last year in November. We have about $500,000 asset under management. We have about $100,000 savings on Ladda. We have a wait list of about 10,000 people leveraging on our existing community, right? We're forecasting that in the next 2 years, we'll be looking at 12 million asset under management. We'll be looking at 8 million as savings and also 75,000 users, right? So we're looking at the risk. What are the risks? What are the things that could actually go wrong? We're looking at regulators, right? There's a lack of clarity and speed on how fintechs will be regulated. They have a lot of meetings. There could be an outright ban. However, there's a capital requirement and also things like compliance burden.
I have a question, Raisa. If she can come back to the growth prospects, which are very ambitious, from 100,000 to 8 million. What are the variables you're taking into account?
Great. Thank you so much for that question. The reason why we're able to look at those numbers is that, number one, we're currently just running an MVP now. We've not fully launched the product and opened it up to the general public, right? Another reason why we know that this is feasible, we've seen counterparts being able to pull off these numbers within a year. So in terms of 2 years, that's a very, very fair space. It's very possible because we've seen other people do it. The market is there, a young teeming population and a very young space in terms of the fintech market.
Would be good to have TD's view on that. Thanks.
Well, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
The first is on your business model. How do you make money?
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that question.
Before you answer it, the second question, so that you can answer them both together, is this has become one of the most competitive spaces in the ecosystem, given the work that Flutterwave, given the work that given the work PiggyVest, given the work Go On Trove. This is an increasingly crowded space, and people are struggling for differentiation with a generation, you've mentioned very youthful, that have attention deficit and are not prone to savings. So how are you addressing that specifically? So those are my two questions.
Great. Thank you so much for asking it. So I'm going to start with the business model. The business model is that we actually charge management fee. So for instance, for the stock, we're charging 1% for every transaction that is made. And for the savings, we're also charging a management fee, and that's how we make money. Now, talking about what differentiates us, Money Africa has actually played a critical role in the beginning for the ecosystem. We educate. So we have a TikTok where we dance and we teach people about money. We have a strong social media presence. We leverage on using tools, using the real issues to actually teach it. There was a particular post we did that went viral, right? We're just basically talking about how can you save 100K a month, and that had so many views. So the biggest strength that we have is being an educator and also building a brand in that space by teaching people, so that way it's easier to then plug it in. And also, I just wanted to add a bit to that answer. You said something about it being very, very competitive, and I totally agree with you. So now if you look at, for instance, looking at the equities, even the oldest player like Trove, like you mentioned, they've only been in that market for just 1 year. So there's still a lot of job that needs to be done in terms of educating, bringing more people in the space. So right now we're looking more about expanding the market and getting more leverage, as opposed to trying to snatch a customer from the other person. The time isn't here now. For now, it's more about expansion and getting more people to come into the space.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yabza Gadameka. I'm the co-founder of Rohobot Home-Based Healthcare Service. So to begin with, I'd like to give you a quick preview of Rohobot from its establishment in 2017 to its latest update in 2020. So we started by doing a mini research that enabled us to see that hospitals were actually in huge amount of burden, and they were not receiving patients as they should. And patients were not going to the hospital for the same reason. And also there was increasing rate of medical graduates every year that's graduating just in the capital address. So we proposed a solution by providing a quality home-based healthcare service for chronically ill and elderly people with affordable price, and also creating job opportunities for this same health professionals. So the last 4 years has been quite a journey for us, starting with the mini research, trainings, securing partnerships, and doing a lot with the Ministry of Health as well. We've also given service for over 17,000 services so far. So now we're at the expansion stage, and we're now diving into the mobile clinic market. So when we go into the opportunity to this existing market, there's a very large opportunity where there's a rapidly growing rate of digitalized care and support, and also the government is imposing door-to-door COVID treatment, and the rising demand for personalized care and support, and of course the increasing rate of human resource, which are the health professionals. So we're planning to bring a healthcare system where there's a technologically driven medical care and support, where we're able to have an electronic health record, and also promote quality healthcare delivery, and also possibly prevent or decrease possible death cases. So these are our customers. Obviously, as you can see on the screen, we have registered customers, VIP customers, who are the government officials, embassies and international organization staffs, diasporas, and so on. So what are we proposing to our customers? The first one is we're proposing a personalized care and support with the innovative technology, and also we're proposing multiple type of medical support opportunities at just one stop, and also we're giving access to the medical professionals with up-to-date medical information, and of course promote healthier lifestyle. So we've broken down our costs into the construction of this vehicle. This vehicle consists of or includes as you can see, the medical equipments, which are to be used for the patients, like ECG, ultrasounds, ventilators, and so on. And this is the running cost of the organization, as you can see. So when it comes to the return of investment, as you can see, the registered customers, we're planning to charge them $527 per customer. The VIPs around $1,275, which is the same as the diaspora. So our return of investment will be a little over 2 years.
Talked about traction and the number of customers that you have.
Yes.
Are these customers for this van product, or is this something else? And are you generating $500 per customer? So that would be $500 times 1830, or the number of customers that you say you had.
Okay, so the listed customers right here, or are you talking about the ones I stated on the first slide over here, or the ones I talk at the final stage one? This one?
Yeah, you had a list of you had a list of your customers per month and then per year.
Yes.
And so are all of those paying $500 each?
No, they're not paying. Okay, they're not paying $500 each. For example, the registered customers are only paying $527, but the ones of government officials or embassy staffs are paying around, as you can see, $1,338.
It depends. What is that like? Is that per visit? I mean, what does that represent?
Per patient. It's per patient. We're for inclusive.
Okay, so I don't understand. So the bus goes to them and then they pay $500?
For an inclusive, they get x-rays, any kind of, it depends on the kind of medication or support they need. But this is an inclusive care and support. They can get
but I'm not, okay, but you said that it's a van. So
I'm not sure. Did I answer your question, or are you still not?
No. So you said it's a van, right?
Sorry?
So do I pay $500 when the van comes? I don't understand the how you get it. So every time the van comes, I pay $500?
As long as you finish all the care and support, yes. As soon as you finish the entire routine checkup and everything, you pay at the end of your treatment.
Okay, and you've had over 1,000 people pay $500 for this?
This is a project that we're still working on. We haven't completely fully launched it yet. This is a project we're working on.
But don't you think that's expensive for a single visit to pay $500?
We actually made a survey here in Addis that we looked into hospitals. Actually, in Ethiopia, healthcare system is very expensive, and this amount is actually very much not costly compared to the ones they actually pay when they go to the hospital. For example, when one patient go to the hospital, private hospital, to get all this treatments or the EKGs and everything, a patient can actually pay over $500. I've had encounter when I go with my dad for his checkup. We actually paid over $500 for just one day. You can get that with a bed, EKG, and everything, X-rays, testing, everything. You can pay more than that. Ethiopia's healthcare system is actually way expensive.
I think it will depend on what kind of disease it is actually.
Exactly.
Someone who has just want to do a test for COVID, doesn't want to go to the hospital, or someone who has diabetes or have to do some implants and all that stuff is very different. So I think you will need to adapt really what you put in those buses. We have this here in Senegal, but it is within the Ministry of Health, which have the buses and trucks that are fully loaded with equipment for dental care, other health care, heart issues, X-rays, everything. And you have 2 to 3 doctors and nurses in it that go around the villages and do checkups and some treatments on a daily basis. But this is mainly done for free. But if you are able to do it together with the government, with the Ministry of Health, and connect with people at embassies and all those people who pay for this service, good for you. But as Rebecca was saying, the price per patient per visit is very expensive. If someone has to call the bus for 5 times, I bet they won't call it.
Okay, this is a survey that actually, you're very correct, but we've done this quite a few times in the hospitals. That's why we came up with this number. But that's very correct. What you said is understandable.
Maybe a quick question if the time allows as well. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish, Claudia.
You can just go ahead really quickly.
Because my last question is really around the team that delivers this. So if we're talking of a pluralistic approach to medicine, which is what you're talking about here, taking a truck and driving around, this is general practice plus specialists in the background. Can you please share what the team structure looks like? Who are the people delivering this as a service?
Okay. So we already have physicians that's on call, currently working with us. We have radiologists, physiotherapists, and nurses, certified nurses working with us already. Laboratory technicians and radiologists are already on set for this service. They're certified and also given permission and from the Minister of Health and experts in areas like this.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Bright Nyundu. I'm co-founder and CEO at Sparco. At Sparco, we help small businesses across Africa receive payments from their customers. In Africa, population do not have bank accounts, but most of them have got mobile money accounts. Now, there are a lot of organizations that are trying to solve the problem of payments on the continent. The problem is they are regionalized. So you find in East Africa, they focus more on mobile money. In Southern Africa, a lot of South African banks are getting into South Africa to solve mostly card problems. And West Africa is the banks and fintechs. What Sparco is doing is unifying everybody. So we are doing integrations with Southern African banks. We are doing integrations with money service providers in East Africa and also partnerships with West Africa. What this entails is that a merchant in a country like Zambia can receive payments even from Kenya, from a mobile money account in Kenya. That's something that doesn't exist for now, because when I go to Kenya, I can't use the my mobile money account from Zambia. This market is about $5 billion. That's the serviceable obtainable market. And our unfair advantage is what we're introducing is some kind of mobile money roaming, because for now, you can't really use your mobile money in another country. It's regionalized, it's exclusive. And the second issue is we are second-time founders. For traction, we've set up in Delaware, South Africa, Zambia, and Uganda. We've also made partnerships with fintechs like with mobile money service providers like MTN, Airtel, and M-Pesa as well. We've onboarded so far 500 merchants. The team, I'm the CEO, I'm a software engineer, I'm a second-time founder. The CFO is an MBA, SCCA, and he's been a CFO for big companies like Vodafone. The CTO is a software engineer, and he worked with me on the previous project. Thank you.
So I think that everybody's trying to do payments and everybody's trying to do cross-border payments. The real issue that people are running into isn't technology, but compliance. How are you addressing this? What is your take on how you can address issues of compliance in delivering a cross-border solution?
Okay, so what we've been doing is we've been doing partnerships. And like you are saying, a lot of people are trying to solve these problems. So what we've been doing is we go into a country, we find a partner that complements our solution that wants to get into markets where we are, and we partner. So we use their license in the market where they are, and they can use our license where we are. An example is our partnership that we're closing with Yoko in South Africa, because they want to get into Zambia, want to get into South Africa, so we're closing that partnership. There's also Fladda in Nigeria. They came to Zambia, they're using our license, and we're getting to West Africa using their license. So we're really doing just partnerships.
Okay, thank you.
Claudia,
don't you think? Okay, I was asking, don't you think your 3.4% transaction fees you will be charging your merchants will increase the fees to the clients you were talking about between the banks, the mobile phone operators and all that stuff? Your additional 3.5% will increase your price, and your solution is made normally to decrease the price of transactions.
Okay, so what we've done is that transaction fee is basically the average. We charge based on what we are charged by the service providers, by the card processors. So mostly the banks would charge us like 2%, and we just add a 1.4 on top. For the mobile service providers, some of us are charging us 2%, some of them are charging us 2%, some of them are charging us about 1.5. So our transaction fees really vary from about 2.5 to 3.7%. At the end of the day, we came up with the model based on the current market transaction fees, one, and also what model makes us money. So we came up with the optimal.
Yeah, I would say good luck to that, because I personally am currently facing that. Over the last 2 years, we've invested $100 million over the country. 75% is unbanked. But for people to go pay directly to the banks, it's easier for them to go through mobile telephone operators or others, because there are fees for money transfer, there are fees for banks, and they refuse to do so. And we are working together with an American provider called Wave, which is charging 1% the two ways, deposit and payback. Disbursement and payback. Even that, people are saying it's expensive. So it can be tricky for customers.
Can you speak to your traction? Where are you now?
Right now we are entering the second market, and that's South Africa. So we are just finalizing our partnership with Yoko in South Africa for us to enter into the market. Now we've like for South Africa, for instance, the main motive is that we are really chasing after the card holders, because we realize that in South Africa, small businesses that need our solution, especially for offline payments, because we're also providing mobile point of sale machines, there are about 6 million businesses that need the solution that are that's the untapped market. Only about 500,000 is tapped by the banks and the fintechs in South Africa. So realize it's still a huge opportunity in South Africa. So that's what we're going into. We are fully launched in Zambia, and we've got 500 merchants in Zambia.
How many? 500, did you say?
500 merchants.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe building on the 500 merchants that you mentioned, can you give us maybe some insights on how much they like your app? Maybe talking in metrics, like what is the retention rate? What's the feedback so far?
Okay, so far, when we first started, really, a lot of them were just doing test transactions until around October. So we've had our retention rate is about 1%, and mostly these are merchants that just sign up. Maybe there's an event and they want to collect money. So they sign up. After the event is done, they end up just deleting accounts.
So I'm Lorenzo Boncompagni. I'm the CEO and founder of Capture Solutions. I've started the company with my wife, Damaris, and she's also part of the group. We are 40 professionals across 4 different countries: Nigeria, Ivory Coast, where I'm presently in, Kenya, and Tanzania. We already achieved quite a number of things, especially we have achieved to get a lot of prizes in different countries: Morocco, Nigeria, Kenya, and Ivory Coast. We are specialized in B2B application. We have focused a lot in agriculture, and we got funding for it, which allowed us to focus on the supply chain for agriculture. So the main problem in agriculture, in the supply chain in Africa especially, is that there's disruption in traceability in the whole supply chain. And this brings a lot of issues in terms of child labor, deforestation, quality of the product, and also brand awareness. So supply, which is made of farmers, cooperative traders, producers, and the final customer, has issues in this segment. And we, thanks to our solutions, have managed to actually provide a solution to that by inputting a new technology, which is made of scales with Bluetooth technology that pushes the data to our to the PDA with our application called Wave Capture, in order to measure the product and allow to have complete traceability of the whole supply chain. So all the bags of cocoa and other produce are being tagged and scanned through our technology. They are weighed. They are pushed now to a PDA. The PDA pushes the data to a server, and now we can pay the farmers through mobile money. So this brings not only the traceability of the commodity, but also the full traceability of the financial aspect. We have some competitors in the market. We do have an edge compared to the others. First of all, we are very present in the market, in the territory. We also have a verification process. We use identification through fingerprint to identify the farmer, which gives even more credibility to the whole process. And we also do the payment part, which is not so evident in the other solution.
You seem to have multiple products. Could you share with us how you think about it holistically in terms of a solution set?
Yeah, so here we've focused a lot in agriculture. It's very difficult to sell now all the other technologies that we have implemented.
Oh, no, I got that. But you talked about the cocoa chain, for example, and then there are others.
Yes, so for example, there's cotton, there's cashew. If we see in the next slide, which I can't show you. Yes, this one, for example, in Ivory Coast, we have a presence of different cooperatives. The green one are the cashew one, the yellow are cocoa, and the orange are mixed. They can do also cotton or other type of produce. So we have, actually in Nigeria, we have cotton, we have groundnuts, we have sesame. In Kenya, we have tea. We do the collection for also Unilever, for Lipton tea. So in the Philippines, we're also in the Philippines now with Dole for pineapple. So we are in many different commodities. In Morocco, we're doing now argan oil, and we're about to open in Peru for actually quinoa.
Many thanks to all the startups, and congrats on making it up to this stage. We will announce the best startup from Africa that will advance to the grand final in about 20 minutes. And now it's time to start our panel discussion. Welcome our dearest speaker to the stage to discuss women empowerment and gender equality in Africa. We are honored to have with us such great speaker as Stephanie Vax-Stephens, Global Private Equity and Venture Capital Fund at International Finance Corporation, Rohobot Pitch, Innovation Consultant, Bethlehem Desjeuner, CEO at Zafri Papers, and our moderator, analyst favorite, Project Manager for Africa at Seedstars.
Thank you so much for joining us on this panel about women empowerment in Africa. It's really an honor for me to have you around this virtual table. So it's all the more important that women empowerment is also very important for Seedstars as a company. Because we really believe that women belong in all places where decisions are made, and that empowering women is a moral imperative. But beyond that, it's key to sustainable development, both in emerging and in so-called developed markets. I think maybe we can also start by getting your perspective as an entrepreneur, as an institutional stakeholder on gender equity currently on the continent and its evolution for the past 5 years, for example, specifically with the impact of COVID. We were talking about it a bit earlier. So what would be your take on this, Stephanie?
Yeah, no, thank you. And just to sort of set the stage, and you're right, I think we had alluded to this earlier, we have seen some progress in female entrepreneurship. And so I was looking, I think a few days back at the World Economic Forum sort of gender gap progress, the Global Gender Gap Report. And I think some of the countries that have closed gaps in economic participation, you've got Benin and you've got Burundi and a few others, which is encouraging. So if you look at it over the past 5 years, we have made progress in entrepreneurship, but we're still not there, right? And the gaps we're facing, has to start with access to finance. And as it stands now, when you look at funding from PE and venture capital, only 6% of that funding is going to women on the continent. That's significantly low, guys. Like 6% to women entrepreneurs in Africa is not great, especially if you're benchmarking it against the rate of entrepreneurship that we have seen. And even back to the rate of entrepreneurship that we have seen, COVID has come to hit it. And it gives us the risk of sort of eroding the progress that we have made so far. Why so? Undeniably and undoubtedly, and I say this also from a personal experience, the burden of childcare, etc., naturally falls on women. You know, not to say they're not very supportive partners out there, they are. But instinctively, we have seen across the continent and even beyond that burden of childcare and domestic work and everything else that the pandemic has brought, and even gender-based violence to the, some of the earlier conversations falls on women. And so if you have a woman entrepreneur against this context, it is challenging. The last thing I would say before passing it over, for women who've been able to sort of hold their businesses transformed are the ones who've been able to transform into work from home models, if they're in service or something that can be done that way. But of course, most of the women that we have seen in the businesses are in like hospitality and in sectors where it's not very easy to transition to a work from home model. Even when you've been able to, for you to transition to a work from home model, your tech adoption has to be high, right? And so you need to be able to be technologically savvy, have the platforms, etc.
Access to internet,
everything. And then there is a disproportionate access as well, because I think the data shows about less than 20% of women, this is even across all markets, have access to mobile phone or internet. And so across all facets, the gaps that need to be fixed. And then I guess down the line, we can talk about some of the things that others are doing to sort of bridge these gaps in supporting women.
Yes, definitely. Indeed, that's also the objective of being here and sharing, because we also want to be solutions oriented, right? Because it's important to know what we're trying to tackle, but also how do we do this? But thanks, Stephanie. It was very insightful. And I'm always trying to fight against the myth of women having to be superwoman, especially when being entrepreneurs. But when we listen to you, it's also hard not to have this image coming to mind. But I don't know, Vuyo, if you have any insights on this as well as an entrepreneur yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I'll just edify and add on to what Stephanie has said. You know, I think it's great that we have the highest rates of female entrepreneurship activity in the world, and you know, are leading in even a couple of these countries. But there's also this funding gap, right? A whole $42 billion that is a risk that institutions are not investing in, right? And this gap is existing between the men and women entrepreneurs on the continent, per the African Development Bank. And there's a lot of capital that is being plowed into the ecosystem, and there's already, you know, so many hurdles to women's participation. On the smaller scale, you have 37% of women having access to a bank account compared to men, right? Which they're lying at about 48%, 49%. And then you also have, you know, women founders being more likely to be asked preventative questions about their businesses, that is, you know, focused on potential losses. So there's this systematic brilliance that is being upheld, of be it patriarchy, that it's really upheld by women and men, and it's across private and public sector. It's structural, it's interpersonal, right? With structural, we're talking about the access to capital that Stephanie was mentioning. We're also talking about the frameworks and the policies, right, that actually enables this to take place. And we're talking about the meritocracy, right, where men invest in men, and where they handle about 90% of the capital, so they're more likely to invest in other men, and whereas women invest in women who look like them, right? And then we also have the interpersonal bit of it, which is the bias, which is the lack of access to social capital, the mentorship, the sponsorship, right? And I think what COVID has done is really exacerbate what already was there, right? It's magnified all of these elements, and I think it's something that Stephanie had mentioned as well, is that women are much more at a rate of being affected, and we've seen this through another health pandemic, which was the Ebola outbreak, right? An example we had in Liberia, where women experienced worse job losses than men. They were more hardly hit, and in Sierra Leone, there were school closures, which meant girls spent more time with men. There was a likelihood of increase in being pregnant and leaving school. So I think that from a structural perspective, I think there's definitely a lot more work to be done around, even just from policy, which means there needs to be R&D spend and impact evaluations across the continent so that we can access all of this, right? And now, according to, I think it was a World Bank report, through the Gender Innovation Lab, that globally female-owned businesses were 5.9% points or percentage more likely to close their businesses than male-owned businesses, right? And that's because women have these, like I mentioned earlier, these consumer-facing industries, and where we saw a higher rate of closures, like hotels and cafes, education, personal grooming, sports, and all of these sort of elements. So I think there's hope, definitely, to the work that can be done. But I think as long as that structural and interpersonal bias already exists, something like a pandemic like COVID will only exacerbate what's already there and only widen that gap that's already existing. So I think if we're looking at the lens of what's happened in the past, currently, right now, and perhaps 5 years from now or 10 years from now, it's really up to us to really attack the root what's at the root of this risk, we're losing out on $42 billion on Africa alone. Globally, it's up to $12 trillion, right? So there's that loss that's happening. And I think it's up to not only us women who are having this discussion, but it's also the men, right? Who already are taking the strides. I'm really interested because what we're doing right now is saying, this is the data and this is what's working, but what are you doing? Right? How are you investing? And whether, maybe men will listen to other men and they'll hear what's actually working and how they're taking our advice. And in those social circles and in those boys clubs, those conversations can also be brought up. So perhaps next year we have some men, although I'm opposed to manels, but I think in hearing about concrete examples of what they're doing, so that we can highlight those and edify those points is going to be something that's super crucial.
Relating to the fact that, of course, money is power, and it's super interesting to see that now more and more women have money, and that also potentially has an impact on the competition that could exist between women and female entrepreneurs in general, because the resources used to be so scarce that you would you would have at the same time a dynamic of cooperation with fellow women founders, but also you're competing for the same funds in a way. So it's hard, I think, not to have like two different personalities and to choose whether the way of cooperation or competition. So actually, I'm going to ask this question to Bethelem, who just joined us. Welcome, Bethelem.
Okay, that's a great question, actually. I have to say, my mom is an entrepreneur. So I start from there. So she is the first role model for me. So, I've seen my mom, ever since I was born, I can say, in business. She's still in business and was in business ever since, I was born. So my mom is the first role model, and she's my first mentor advisor regarding business. And then I also ended up, I've told this story before as well on, I think, a Seedstar podcast. So my current partner was my role model. So I used to learn about her in school. She's an economist. Her name is Dr. Laney. So I always dreamed of working with her, and we used to learn about her actually. So, finally she's my partner. She's also my second role model. And now, plus she's my partner, mentor, / I can say, a mom, a second mom. So yeah, and so when we started the business, so how I met Dr. Laney, or my role model, is that she owns an incubation center in Ethiopia. So we joined the incubation center, we took the training, and then, her incubation center became our potential partner. So in this incubation center, I haven't just met Dr. Laney, my role model, but also a couple of women entrepreneurs who are also like me, startups that are in the startup world trying to do something amazing. I think there are more number of women startups in our incubation center than men, I can say. So I do work with a couple of women entrepreneurs in our ecosystem, and we help out a lot each other. We help each other a lot. We do things a lot. We practice pitch together. Whenever there is an investor coming, we want the opportunity to go for everyone. And it's a really cool working environment. So in fact, honestly speaking, I don't usually take this kind of invitations. Like whenever I'm asked to talk about women empowerment and blah blah, for me, growing up, I've never really seen this as a challenge, because it was never a challenge for me. In fact, I've never been told that, hey, because you're a woman, you have to do this and you have to do that. And hey, my brother was never told to do something else because he was a man. We were treated equally. So even to understand the actual problem of gender issue, I think I started understanding it when I joined the university. So even then, for me, it was a bit strange because even in my high school, I've never really, maybe it's the way I've grown up, but I've never really sensed it for me because I never, in the first place, I have never put myself in that position in the first place. So that's the thing. So like right now it's, once I start noticing and listening to different kinds of, feminism stories, gender inequality stories and all. And then whenever I try to notice, now I am being more aware of some of the problems, but the way I see it, I don't know if I'm taking too much time, but the way I see it, everything is a mindset, I guess. From this, what I've gathered is that everything is a mindset. The way you grow up, what you've been told, your society, everything shapes you. So it's a mindset. So and a mindset can be changed. So the biggest solution for whatever gender inequality issue we have is, I think it starts from the mindset. Especially, it's not just the men or anybody's mindset, but from us. It starts from us. So whenever I stop putting myself in that position in the first place, I think the solution will start coming.
Thank you so much, Bethlehem. It's really inspiring, and I guess it's all the more inspiring that if you're saying that you've not felt the burden that it can be for some women to actually be a woman, that makes you, I guess, freer, and I guess that's all the more inspiring because it's an example for other women out there who can also, follow your footsteps and see what it's like to lead your life without considering your gender as an obstacle. So thank you for this great example. It's really inspiring. I also really liked what you said about the mindset. And I think it's a bit double-sided because I really like the idea of being in one's own team, right? Because indeed it starts from within. And at the same time, it's very challenging to just say, well, it starts with you, so do the work. Because I think it also sometimes go beyond that. And actually, my question will go to Stephanie, because I know that you've been part of a lot, or you've witnessed a lot of different projects in this field. And I'm not sure that many projects actually take into account this mindset aspect. Would you have an example for us regarding this mindset aspect? What's your take on this?
I'm so happy with what Bethlehem said. I wanted to jump and clap, right? Because it starts as a mindset, and all we've been trying to drum is that women can do it, and given the opportunity, which thank God she has not faced any barriers, but giving the opportunities to everybody, women can equally do as well. I think that is foundational. And to be able to prove that point, we have to show the business case, right? We have to show that women entrepreneurs do equally as well, and in some cases even perform better, right? Because I think it was Christine Lagarde who said it, it's fine if you don't get the moral right to fix the gender gaps, but everyone can understand numbers and everyone can understand the economic case, right? And so it starts with the entrepreneur. If the female entrepreneur thinks and has, in her mind, set that I'm just going to do this business, I'm going to go ahead irrespective, she's going to do well. And that only helps in strengthening the business case that we're trying to prove. But if we have a case where, as on the investor base, everyone trying to push capital to the women, face a resistance on the other side where the woman entrepreneur herself is feeling defeated and feeling victimized, we're not helping the cause. So I'm happy that with the mindset that Bethlehem has, I hope we could sprinkle that across all female entrepreneurs and say, listen, it's fine. You don't have to be victim. You just have to forge along and get your business down, because there's nothing like proving someone wrong other than proving it with success, okay? What we've done, and talking about mindset, and I think you also alluded to it earlier on, it's the bias, it's the unconscious bias that sometimes we, some investors come with. And that, in all honesty, does affect the allocation of capital, that goes in some cases. And some of what we've seen is just the traditional models of how, investing is done. It's standard. You come in, you pitch, you ask certain questions. And through those methodologies, you do realize that some of them actually skew the capital away from women entrepreneurs a little bit. We came out, the IFC and Village Capital did a research last year. And we realized that, I think Bethlehem said it, in her cohort in the accelerator program and the incubation program, there were women, right? So women are getting it. You're getting about 50-50 split between men and women-led startups into the accelerator incubator programs. It's the end where the difference is. Because what we realized is that women were getting, I think men-led startups were raising 2.6 times more equity financing than women, right? And so the question is, why is that the case? Are we looking at the methodologies of how we're allocating capital? Can we do things differently? And similarly to what we're looking at with Seedstars, can we think of more innovative ways of doing things, right? Where the structural or systemic ways of just what we've always known doesn't go against women, right? And so those are some of the things that we're looking to change so that as the woman is crushing it, as Bethlehem is with Zafri Papers, the supply side is not impacting or is not taking away from the full potential that she could get.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your insights. I think it complements very well what the example that Bethlehem shared, and you're having maybe a more like 360 view. So that's interesting to know that actually your systemic view also matches the examples on the ground. Unfortunately, we don't have much more time, so I'm going to end with one last question to you all. In your opinion, what would be the best call to action to share with people watching this recording, watching this competition, supporting entrepreneurs on the continent? What's your call to action to make significant progress when it comes to women empowerment in entrepreneurship? Maybe Vuyo, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I just wanted to, the points that Stephanie was making, I also just wanted to give you a, but what she said around business case, right, is that investing in women is a business case, and it really addresses the triple bottom line, right? And it's not a charity. I mean, earlier on, we're talking about all of these statistics about why it is a business case and why it's actually a risk not to invest, right? There's from a gender-based violence perspective, they would decrease those rates. There's a really great tool developed by the United Nations Development Program and UN Women, which is a gender lens tracking tool, which is really looking at 183 countries across the world who are looking at measures around the impact of COVID, specifically for women and girls. And about 70% of these measures that are coming from governments across the globe are looking at gender-based violence. So, I mean, it's looking at how do we decrease that? And it's really about, engaging in investing in women and investing in economically empowering them. So that's one. So please look at that resource. And then two, supporting, communities like Seedstars and the work that they're doing, whether as a mentor, whether as a funder, or joining those communities and finding out how you can support incredible entrepreneurs like Bethlehem. But also, I think it's really up to us to continue having these conversations and continue investing in R&D and evaluating the impact of such work so that we can come up with much more innovative solutions and develop business models and develop frameworks and tools that will look to responding to this epidemic as well, which is the under-resourcing and the underfunding of women-owned businesses and women-led businesses.
Thanks, Vuyo. And indeed, business models or tools that are developed, that are innovative and that can be scaled will bring even more impact. So yeah, definitely. Stephanie, maybe you want to comment on this, or what's your call to action?
Oh, yes. Oh, if I have like...
I know you have many.
60.
Try to pick one or two.
Yeah, just pick a few. So I personally don't like research that is just research for the sake of research, right? And the money has to follow the talk, right? And so we've done all these research pieces, we've noted, we all know, but my call to action is for the cash to move and follow the research, right? And so, and people don't realize it. Most investors have not even looked at their portfolios to even look and say, what is my balance of investments to women-led businesses versus otherwise, right? And if I was to do an analysis and look at my portfolio, can I see and sort of distill performance by gender? Am I actually seeing that the female-led businesses are doing better or otherwise? It could go both ways for each investor. But I think for me, it's a call for every investor to sort of critically look at this. And something that Vuyu alluded to earlier, the gender lens investing is not just looking at investing in businesses like Zafri, like Bethlehem's, right? It's also looking at businesses that are addressing and supporting women at the company level. Like, where are women as employees? Where are women as customers? Are we developing products and doing things that address some of these acute gender issues that we have seen, right? And so that we have a broad-based approach to sort of fixing and solving some of these issues. And so that's really my call to action. Can we let the money follow the research and prove the point the more, right? That it is really worth the case and people are actually making money from taking a critical look at having gender balance in their investment portfolios.
So data is useful. We need to base our actions out of data, but money is even better when it follows the data. Otherwise, data itself, we won't go really far with this. Thanks, Stephanie, super inspiring. And maybe the end word for you, Bethlehem. Do you have any call to action, any recommendations for people watching us today from the African entrepreneurial ecosystem?
Well, again, I'm going to keep it very, very simple. As I mentioned, it's the mindset. So for all women out there, please do not, in the first place, put yourself in that position.
Thank you so much, all of you. It was really, truly super inspiring. I'm actually super honored to have had this talk with you. I know I've said it before, but I wanted to repeat it because it's actually true. Thank you so much for your time. And let's actually keep this conversation going because women empowerment is not just a panel in a competition. It actually happens every day. And I think we all have a role to play.
Many thanks to all the speakers. And now it's time to move on back to the competition. So the first one, Flamingoo Foods company. You are addressing the very real problem of hunger and malnutrition, but you need to stress more on how your solution impacts it. Ladda Pitch. Fintech is a tough world, very competitive, but you have a foot on the market and are up to a solid start. Rohobot with grace. Your pricing is not service-based, so it can be high in some cases, but you manage a partnership with the government, which is a step in the right direction. Sparco with pride. Your business model has a lot of potential in a booming market, but your retention rate of 1% seems too low. And the last one, Capture Solutions, Lorenzo. Your pitch was clean and you were answering a real need, but the scalability of your solution to other countries may need more fine-tuning. We are ready to announce the winner. So the startup from Africa who won the Seedstars World Competition in the region this year is Ladda. So,
yay! I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very excited to go, past the regional stage, and I'm really excited for the final one as well. And I'm really giving a shout out to every other person on the stage. We are all winners, and thank you.
Congratulations to you. I wish you all the best for the final, and take the winner to make Africa to be the winner. That would be amazing. So all the best to you. Thank you for your support so far, Seedstars and Raisa. It was really nice to be part of this program.
Yeah, Ladda,
yes,
don't disappoint us. Please represent us. Thank you.
Well done, Ladda. I'm very glad that a woman has won this part of the competition, and I hope you will win the final. So, all the best.